Right, what I want to talk about is pre-threat cue behaviour that relates to somebody with either a knife to hand or about to access a weapon that's on their person. So I'm going to give you this from a UK perspective. So under UK law, the good citizen cannot carry any tool by definition for the purpose of self-protection. And in terms of a legal carry of knife, the only thing that's legally considered UK friendly is a blade with a blade length of less than 3.5 inches that's incapable of locking you out. Now, it's just a utility tool and you can have this in your possession, but what we're talking about is from a criminal perspective. So a criminal will carry weapons by design and improvised to be used as such for the simple reason they couldn't give a fuck about the law. So there's this disproportional armament where a significant period of time ago that Commonwealth countries such as the UK, Australia, New Zealand and Canada were stripped the good law-abiding man and woman of their right to arm themselves against any armed enemies. So we have no equivalent of a Second Amendment. No tool for self-defense is allowed, not even pepper spray for women, which is completely unlawful and ridiculous, but that's how it is. But it doesn't apply to criminal ilk or terrorist ilk that will carry weapons regardless because they don't give a fuck. So this leaves you at a severe disparity. Now, in any situation where you're likely to deal with a knife, first thing to understand is no method of martial art, martial sport, reality-based self-defense or combatives has any foolproof guarantees for dealing with a blade. If you are forced to deal with the blade out of an act of sheer desperation, there's a high probability that you will get cut. What you're looking at is the means to limit the damage to you getting cut as much as possible, put you in a position where you can deal with the threat effectively, and then if necessary seek medical management. Better than that would be don't fucking be there. So if you've got good pre-threat cue awareness, then you can avoid the situation. If not, and the subject is in front of you, then there's two methods in which the subject is either going to deploy the blade immediately or access it to deploy it. The first is the blades to hand, second is the blades on the person. Now your best chance of dealing with a knife in a situation like that you can't avoid, can't mitigate, can't de-escalate, you can't run, would be to deal with the threat before the knife is in play. So what do I mean by that? I mean before he has accessed the tool and got ready to use it, if you can spot the early precursors that tell you that information, you should literally blitzkrieg the fucker and take him off the planet. If you can't run, you need to destroy the threat immediately before the knife is out and in play. Because once the knife is out, mobile and moving, it's almost too late. There's a high probability now that you're going to get cut. And depending on where you've been stabbed or cut, in the first sense, will depend on how badly you're hurt, as to whether or not also that you can get over the psychological shock of being cut and get into the fight to do something about it. So the best chance is dealing with the knife before it's out. From a UK perspective, the most common type of knife that you're going to come across is just a kitchen knife, like so. Could be bigger than this, could be this size, or could be smaller, like this, just a normal kitchen knife. Or it's going to be something like a screwdriver, or some kind of craft utility blade, or Stanley knife by design. So obviously this is a slashing weapon, this is a stabbing tool, this can stab or slash as can this, right? So the things to understand about the use of such tools is if the knife is already to hand, there's certain tells that will make it pretty obvious to you. So if the knife is already to the hand, one way in which it can be sealed is called thumbing, where the blade is thumbed and it's behind the forearm and you can't see it, and it can be brought into play really quickly. Another would be cupping the hand like so. This is very common to prison. If you go right back to the 1960s film of Clint Eastwood, Escape from Alcatraz, you'll see a classic example of the person cupping the blade. There's also an example where they palm the blade, and that's holding the blade flat against the side of the leg. So if you don't know these things, you're less likely to see them, or you could miss them very easily. The anomaly, if somebody's walking towards you in this way, is this structure tends to look kind of stiff and unnatural. but if you don't know what you're looking for, you won't know what to see. So most people, when they're engaged with a hostile subject, it's not an ambush, it's pre-fight dialogue. There'll be some sort of introductory dialogue that could be deceptive or intimidatingly aggressive, and the person on the receiving end of that will be drawn into this eye battle, where their vision will tunnel completely and they're focused just on the face, particularly if the subject is intimidating, and everything else closes off. The recommendation would be, when we're using any kind of non-violent posture in front of somebody, put soft focus around the chin and throat area. Now you're likely to be able to spot and scan very quickly where the hands are, or notice if any shift in weight occurs. Understand, the face can intimidate you, the hands can fucking kill you. So always be aware of where the hands are and what they're doing. If they're obscured, in a pocket, behind the back, held unnatural in any way, shape or form, then assume that the subject has a weapon within the context of the situation that you're dealing with, right? So most natural positions that are empty of the hands usually show the thumbs. So if you see anything like this, where there's clothing obscuring the hand, or you see, like I said, the thumbs out of range, or you can't see the fingers, or it's firmly against the side of the body, that's a clear indication that there could be something in the hand. If somebody comes up to you with a hand already behind their back, well, really, you get caught like this, looking shame on you as a self-protection trainee. I would immediately shut the person away and demand a show of hands. At that point you can run, I would run. So just to recap then, thumbing, palming, cupping, palming, and obscuring it in some way behind the back. Another common way is have the blade ready in the pocket, like so, and the hand is on it, but it's holding against the pocket like so. If the other hand is left in the same way, it's kind of symmetrical, you're not likely to see it. It can be brought into play really, really quickly. Okay, so inside the pocket of the jacket, maybe in the pocket here, be aware of somebody coming up to you. If they've got their hands in their pockets like this, or classic chaff stance where they've got their hand down the fucking trousers, anything where you can't see the hands, do not allow the subject in proximity to you. Outside of that, the tool is most likely going to be on the person. So if it's on the person, if you go with the idea that 90+% of the population are right-handed, and I can tell you from the experience of implementing thousands of searches during my time in security, we found weapons and contraband all over the place, but the primary area was this quadrant of the body. So either the pocket, waistband inside, waistband behind, or pocket behind. This is the common area for people to carry most things. So, you know, your wallet, your cigarettes, your keys, your phone, your weapon, this kind of quadrant. Now, if it's in this kind of quadrant, let's say now just at the back, hidden by a garment, then during the conversation, at some point the person will reach behind. And what is the classic tell to this is this elbow will move. Elbow moves out, hand obscures. Hand obscures, takes the weapon, now it's in play. Quite often this will be hidden with some kind of deception, some kind of misdirection or question as they're asking to either misdirect your attention or brain engage. Bottom line is, if the elbow pops and the hand moves, they're usually reaching for something, right? That can also accompany some kind of definitive shift in weight as there's a misdirection of attention and now the knife's in play. You need to be aware of these kind of things and be aware that if you're dealing with somebody, again, soft focus on the chest or throat area and scan the hands intermittently so you can see where they are. If somebody approaches you that you're unfamiliar with, quadrant them. You know, look at the facial expression, look at whether they're bladed, look at what the hands are doing, look at the demeanour, see if they walk with purposeful intent. Bottom line is, if you trust your instincts, because if your instincts tell you something's wrong, something's probably fucking wrong. Right? Another example would be, it's in the front of the waistband. If it's in the front of the waistband like so, then the garment would need to be lifted, again this elbow would pop and the hand would obscure to pull it out. These are things that you need to know and understand about criminality. So it's either to hand or on their person, where it's in a place where they could access it very quickly. Another example, from a premeditated point of view, the knife could be placed on the person for really quick access. In this case, it's just in the back pocket with the handle here. From the front, you can't see nothing, and it's just out and brought into play really quickly. Again, same commonality, elbow pops and disappears behind. A couple of other things to think about are weapon signatures. So it doesn't happen often, but it does happen. If somebody gives you a knife-based threat, for example. So if you're about to get into a confrontation with somebody, somebody says to you, I'll fucking knock you out, I'll break your jaw, that would indicate to you that they're going to punch you. But if they said to you something along the lines of, I'll fucking open you up like a sardine can, they are telling you in an indirect way that they are bladed, that they are carrying a weapon. Like I said, it doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And quite often it could just be bravado, but I would always expect a weapon, and I would always expect that he's with more than one subject. Right. Final thing I want to tell you about is, in relation to signatures, would be weapon printing. So if I had a tool here and it was printing within the garment, doesn't mean I'm fucking pleased to see you. It's a good indication that there's a blade present, right? Another thing might be also, if the person is a little bit nervous, keeps checking the location of where the tool is kept, along with probably some other cues that will give you an idea that he's up to no good. But this would be a weapon signature. Final weapon signature I'll talk about is less common in the UK, more common to Europe and to the US, and that will be any type of folding blade that has a clip retention that goes here into the pocket. If you can spot this kind of clip retention, it tells you two things. It tells you one, he's armed with a knife, it tells you two, he's right-handed. It's better to be able to spot these kind of things and see them so that you've got an early heads up to either run, pick up a weapon, or engage straight away before the person gets a chance to get the blade in play.